Hey everybody, this is Matt and we're at Texas Toast Guitars. Thanks for watching. Today we're going to do a little experiment on video. I have no idea if it's going to work out. And what we are going to try to do is bind something after it has already been painted. Kind of. So the other day I was goofing around with the new weight relieving route that we have developed for the Challenger model, and we wanted to make something super tacky. So we went with this awesome leopard print fabric that we got. This is on a black Leary body with a maple top. You can actually see the maple top. Look, somebody even wrote Speedo Burrito. Speedo Burrito in there. So this has a maple, probably a 3/8 maple top and a black Leary back. It's got fabric on it, and of course we've Simtec sealed the fabric. And then Chris had the great idea, well, what if we, I wanted to do a little burst around the edge because it looks good. What if we did the burst first and then shot more Simtec over it and then bound it? And I thought, you know what? It's a great idea. Let's run with it. The reason that we wanted to see if it worked was masking this binding here is really a pain in the ass. So the less masking that you have to do, the better. Now, there's going to be one or two guys who've watched the Gibson video where the guy says you can't mask binding, it's impossible, you have to scrape it. No, that's really not accurate at all. If you've ever looked at a Pelham Blue Les Paul Custom, you know they didn't scrape that paint back. Gibson does all their paint scraping for binding on the transparent guitars. The color coats that they use for that stuff is really, really thin. You simply cannot do that with a color, and it's hard to do too with modern urethane paints. It's no coincidence I wore my Gibson shirt today, I guess. So anyway, we are going to bind this. And remember I said I wanted the tackiest guitar I could find? We're going to be putting a piece of this 1/4-inch white binding on the edge. And it's going to be, obviously it's going to be leopard. It's going to have a little tiny burst. The back's going to be red. We're going to have Mike Learn do a bunch of pinstriping magic on this. And this is going to be the most Rick Jamesy guitar we've ever made. And who knows, I might sell it or I might just keep it for myself because it's going to be killer dilla. We're going to be using our pin router to put the binding cut in. If you don't have a pin router, you can always use a router table for this. If you don't have a router table, you can always use a regular hand router for this. So how you get the bearing cutter, the rabbiting cutter to make your channel is up to you. We're going to use a pin router because we got a pin router. And then I'm going to show you guys how to actually put the binding on using the acetone technique. We've done a video about that before, but you know what? There's always time for a new video, right? So I have no idea if this is going to work. For all I know, the acetone's going to wick in there and bleed the black paint all over the place. But I can tell you this much. Acetone does not touch Simtec sealer. But there will be that, you know, we have compromised the integrity of the colorful candy shell. Actually, the clear candy shell. But you know what? Enough of the bullshit talk. Let's just start doing this. See what happens. Well, the pin router sure makes short work of putting the binding channel in, and the StewMac binding bit is super efficient at doing it and making it look easy too, and it's very clean. So we have chosen to go with this white binding because a few years ago at the NAMM show, we noticed there was a lot of guitars that were bound with white. And here at Texas Toast, we're nothing if not timely. So we're only 680 days from being current. So that ain't bad. So anyway, we're going to be using white binding, we're going to be using acetone in a syringe, and we're going to be using binding tape. And, you know, you guys got any questions? They'll probably all be answered in the next couple of steps. And you know what to do if I don't answer them. All right. Making moves. All right, so let's go ahead and make sure we've got enough binding all the way around. I always like to start at the back here in the center, because that's just the way I like to roll. So put a hunk of tape on here to help us get started. And then we'll just kind of work our way around. All right, we are ready to bind. So like I was saying, guys, I have no idea if this technique is actually going to work. For all I know, the acetone is going to wick in and dissolve this black that's in between a couple layers of Simtec and make it look funky. Although it doesn't exactly have anywhere to go, so you know. Now see, sometimes it don't always work out for a ninja. Okay guys, as some of you might have predicted, what happened was the acetone, sure enough, wicked into between the binding and the groove that the rabbet that we put in the edge of the guitar for the binding to go. And it indeed glued down the binding, and it indeed wicked into the tiny gap that was in between the first layer of sealer and the second layer of sealer where the urethane paint was, and pulled all the urethane paint. It melted it and popped the the sealer that was on top of it off. So it didn't exactly go according to plan, but that's okay because the binding is on and we can still mask the binding and do the burst as we had planned. I just had to sand more, and you know, nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? So no big deal. I'm gonna call this a fail. We could even call it an epic fail, but you know, I like to think about it like this. We didn't learn how to do it necessarily, we learned how to not do it. You know, education is expensive, and no matter if you're paying for it with dollars or with time. So guys, if you have any questions about what we did in this video and how we ended up with this guitar like it is now, please leave them in the comment section below. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, why don't you go ahead and click the subscribe button. If you appreciate content like this, you might want to go over to our Patreon page and consider becoming a member, because even $1 a month goes a long way to helping us bring you guys cool stuff like this. You know, and I'm not going to bullshit you. If it doesn't work, I'm going to tell you. And if it does, you see me doing it. Let's see, if you can't do Patreon, we totally understand. Just share this video as many places as you can think of to help us grow the channel that way. And until next time, this is Matt at Texas Toast reminding you that if you're so smart, build it yourself. That's what I do. And sometimes it's okay to not be so smart if you learn from that. Thanks for watching, everybody.